want to talk about the stages of awareness. If you took my business-to-business copywriting course, you'll know that I spend a lot of time on the stages of awareness because it's probably the single biggest mistake strategically that people make with their copywriting is they try to push some message to people that they're not ready for, that they're not at a certain level of knowledge to be receptive to that message, or they're not at a certain level of persuasion to be receptive to that message. So for example, if somebody isn't even aware that they have the problem that you solve and you're trying to get them to buy your product or to talk to your sales team, there's basically three steps that you're missing there to get them to the point where they're ready to have that conversation. What you need to do is create content that meets them where they're at, educates them, and moves them along these stages of awareness. Okay, the second thing I want to point out is that if we think about Shopify Plus as a case study, it's a brand that is very familiar. Now, maybe people don't know Shopify Plus, but they know Shopify. It's credible. Everybody, almost anybody's heard about it, at least in North America. Now, this highlights the difference between general brand awareness, which is usually what people think of when they think of marketing and awareness marketing. It's just, do people know the brand? But when we're talking about business to business, there's more granularity in what we mean by awareness. Awareness is, are they aware of the problem? The problem that your product solves? Are they aware of the categories, the category of product that you're in? Are they aware of your product and your brand? So this is closest to what people think of when they think of brand awareness. But in this case, just because people are familiar with Shopify as a brand doesn't mean they have a clue about the details of Shopify Plus as a product. They don't necessarily know, hey, this is the most agile enterprise e-commerce provider out there, and that Shopify in fact does supply enterprise software. Maybe they just think, oh, this is just for small businesses, it's just for entrepreneurs, solo entrepreneurs, things like that. Now, the last stage is, of course, the people that are aware of the product, but even there, just because they have some level of knowledge with your product doesn't mean they have enough knowledge or awareness to be convinced that it's going to deliver all the use cases that they need. So there's a spectrum even within these in terms of awareness. So brand awareness in terms of business to business marketing is not just, do they know your brand or not? You can run 1 million ads at a frequency of 7 per day. So somebody sees your ad 7 times per day. Yeah, they're going to remember your logo. They're going to remember your brand name, but that doesn't mean they have a clue about the problem, the category, the details of your product. So let's not be too simplistic here. We need to think of awareness at these different stages, and we can look at Shopify Plus to see how they address these different stages in their copy. So just to give a few examples here, people that are problem unaware, how do they address that? Well, they say, here's the problem. Legacy enterprise software is broken. Maybe people don't know that, but Shopify goes into the details about why. Okay, it takes armies of developers, it's expensive, etc. So they're saying that this is a problem. The problem is there's something fundamentally wrong with legacy enterprise software related to e-commerce and omni-channel sales. Okay, so what about people that are not aware of the categories? So there's something happening here in Shopify's marketing. Basically, what they're kind of doing is they're creating their own category. They're saying, we're not even operating in the same space as traditional e-commerce omni-channel software. We're our own. We are the only agile enterprise e-commerce software, essentially. So what they're trying to do is educate you about a category that they dominate. Now, are people familiar with this type of software more generally? Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the entire point of the website is to get people to migrate from software they already have to this new software. So there is category awareness, if you think of it broader in terms of lumping legacy software in with agile software. But if we narrow the scope to how Shopify is trying to define the category, then no. Perhaps people are not actually aware of that category. Some people will be. And when you're doing website marketing, you need to cater to people at different stages because you don't have full control over who receives the message. Okay, so how do we market to people that perhaps are aware of this idea that, okay, we want enterprise software, we want it to be agile, but maybe we don't know a whole lot about Shopify Plus itself? Well, what they're doing is they're going to talk about the benefits of Shopify Plus. It is the only cost-effective enterprise platform that's built for change. Start selling online now. So they're starting to tee up product awareness, and what they're going to do is they're going to segue into a conversation about the 3 pillars we talked about in terms of the functional benefits, and those are the 3 main navigation items on their website. Okay, but what about when you are product aware? You've looked at the use cases, you've looked at the videos, okay, you know what Shopify Plus does. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to spend a lot of time in the copy trying to sell you on the idea of migration and to sell you on the idea of having a conversation about talking to the sales team. So an example where they do this very effectively is they're addressing probably what seems to be the biggest objection or the biggest friction point in terms of switching to Shopify Plus. It's going to take forever. The switching costs are too high, especially in terms of time. So they keep reiterating, battle ready in 90 days or less. In other words, you can migrate to Shopify Plus in less than 3 months, which is a significant benefit when we're talking about this late stage product awareness marketing.